Ah, man, oh man, where do we begin? It's been a hot minute, hasn't it? About 2 years since I dropped any content almost. And I'm pretty sure we need to talk about why. Let's go ahead and do it. Yes. If you remember it, feel free to say it with your boy. I believe, therefore I am. KingSylar. What's popping in the streets, everybody? Hope you guys have been alright. It's been a hot minute since I've had a conversation with you guys, or we've had this type of interaction. Like I said, plenty of people have asked me as far as like, where have I been? What have I been doing? And we're going to answer all that today. Get comfortable. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. And I dropped this video not as to drag anybody, but as far as a declaration to my success and my triumph over the hurdles that have happened and transpired in the last like 2 years. So, but before we get started, I want to give a big shout out to all the people who've been supporting me throughout this time. First and foremost, again, a big shout out to Mikey Flux. He is always and was the first person to advocate for me for doing a podcast. And has been the main person who's been advocating for me to get back into creating content and dropping stuff on YouTube. Just simply creating content for people to talk about our community. Obviously, the DFW Metroplex isn't the biggest scene in the country, but I definitely do believe at a particular level, we are definitely one of the more influential ones in the nation. Without a doubt, and that's across the board when it comes to freestyling. So big shouts out to him, and we'll definitely get back on that. Shouts out to the homie Canvas as well. Definitely been somebody throughout time who has checked on me to make sure that I'm okay as far as in regards to what's going on in my personal life. Big shouts out to the homie Al, aka Pun. Y'all know him. King of King, the godfather of Crump. A lot of conversations about kings lately, so don't mind me. No shots intended in any capacity, but definitely the godfather of Crump, and has been a brother and my closest friend for over a decade. So shouts out there for just simply being a good person and being a good brother on checking on me. And he's been here through everything. So he's aware. This is much more of a recap than any new information as far as to him. And then last not least, my heart, shouts out to Jada, aka Instinct. By the time that y'all see this video, my birthday will have passed. My birthday was on March the 22nd. I turned 37 this year. I know, I keep it looking good. Black don't crack. But in all seriousness, she's definitely been probably the biggest supporting pillar as far as in terms of this time that I've transitioned through in these last 2 years in regards to all the negative and all of the positive that has been in my life. And she's been a big supporter of just simply my progression as a human being. So yeah. So but again, celebrated the birthday. Happy 37 to me. Super happy and excited. Got a new camera. She got me a Sony FX30. Really excited to use it. I'm still on the Panasonic right now. So the next time that I drop some content, y'all might see me on a different camera. I'm really excited for that. Whenever the lens comes in, I might run out in the middle of the night and just go shoot and just see what I can possibly do, because your boy needs an upgrade. And as much as I love my Panasonic and Lumix 4K, this camera came out over 13 years ago, so it's severely outdated. And obviously technology is always evolving, so you got to keep up with it. But I'm super happy, to be able to shoot. And it's definitely probably one of the greatest gifts that I've ever received in my life. So super happy for that. But that's not what y'all are here for. Y'all are here to, be messy and figure out like, hey, bro, where you been? What you been up to? And so let's just jump right into it. But before we do, please make sure that you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Any type of support gives me strength and definitely helps support the growth of the channel. I think right now I'm sitting at 776 as far as subscribers on YouTube. Gonna say right off the bat, trying to get to that 1,000 mark, hopefully before the summer. It's March right now. I would definitely love to get there before the summer, and we'll keep growing because I want to keep dropping content. I love this, always have been, and hopefully this evolves into something greater. So I hope you guys are along for the journey. Again, thank you for your support. Much love. Let's get into it. So, as most people know, clearly you see a lot of changes with me. Lost a lot of weight, staying in the gym much more consistently, and obviously cut my locks, started over. I got the baby locks right now, barely got any hang time. So probably won't be until the end of the year until I actually have any hang time. But I had to make a lot of drastic changes in my life. About 2 years ago, I separated 2.5 or 3 years ago, whatever, but separated from my partner, the mother of my child. Long story short, to just keep it transparent, some foul play was discovered. And I had to make a choice as far as in terms of where I was going to take my life from that point moving forward. There was a lot of negative stuff that was transpiring at that particular time. And I wasn't in a good space because obviously I was working at McLean. Most people remember me. I worked on like the back ends of trucks doing food delivery services. That was a very, very, very grueling job. At minimum, I was working between, I would say, 14 to 18 hour shifts. Sometimes long shifts would be over 24 hours, maybe 22 hours. When I first got there, I was working over 24-hour shifts because I was a part of the 3-man crew. So I would drive out to far places like Tyler, which for people that know, it's like 2 hours away. And we'd make 16 stops on the way back. And sometimes the loads would be like, close to like 40,000, between maybe 60,000, depending on where I was going. But after like 4 years of like doing that, I was just worn down. Obviously I had a daughter shortly before that. So obviously I have responsibilities as a partner and as a father, and the responsibilities, the expectation to provide were overwhelming, because there was a lot of things that I compromised on. I had stopped dancing consistently. My craft fell by the wayside. I know it may look like I was consistent, but I always told people, like, I think for like the longest prior to the separation, like I hadn't practiced and like maybe really got into a good rhythm of practicing for about 2 years. Because of that job, it was just constantly demanding, and I was on call. So there was, for CDL drivers know, there's a 10-hour reset. So hypothetically speaking, if it's 12 o'clock or maybe like, let's say 9 a.m. in the morning, and I have to be at work at 11 that afternoon, go in, work whatever shift. Hypothetically, let's say I get off, which was normal. I get off work at like 2 in the morning or something like that. They have a 10-hour reset in which they can call you back, in which you have to be back to work. Now, they weren't super cruel like that. I did have some situations to where, like, hey, I would have to come in, in that quick turnaround if the shift was smaller. Like if I worked from like 11 to like 4, then yeah, for sure they would want me back at like 6 a.m. in the morning or something like that, or whatever. The 10-hour reset was immediately over. But most of the time I would get off work, and then within an hour of like dropping off paperwork, getting ready to walk out the door, they would immediately have like another dispatch time for me to come in. So it's like, as soon as your 10-hour reset's up, we want you in 2 hours after that. So there wasn't really a lot of turnaround time. I wasn't consistently in a good place, to be honest, like to manage anything at all. I'm sorry for the background noise. Freaking cat. Just had to, I'm shooting this video and just had to use the freaking, you just got to use the restroom right now? Really? Is that what we're doing? Hey! Goodness gracious. So, but, yeah, I mean, that's where it was at with it. And it was not a good, it wasn't a good time for me. It really was not a good time. And so obviously the relationship fell by the wayside. I ended up separating, from her. And like I said, I had a conscious decision to make because, like I said, some foul play was discovered. And I'm one of those people. I'm a firm believer in accountability, communication, and integrity. And I despise people that use that rhetoric of like when people make bad choices, they choose to use the terminology like, "Oh, it was a mistake." I hate people that say that. The things we do in life when we have opportunities to either go left or right are not mistakes. They're choices. And that was one of the things that kind of like got to me. And it's not to dig too down into that and stuff like that, but I'm not beyond people's redemption and stuff like that. But I like to really look into the core and the soul of people, and then kind of go back and like look at patterns and stuff like that. And I made a conscious choice that I deserve better. It was a waste of my time to be in that particular position, and I wasn't going to settle for less. And that's probably what I'd have been doing up until that point. So eventually moved out, got my own house and stuff like that, which is where y'all saw me shooting content last time. But in all honesty, the content that I was shooting at that particular time was off of the strength of just like fatigue and exhaustion. I was tired all the time, obviously still working at McLean. It was really difficult to balance being a co-parent with a child because, again, I was still on call. There was no times where I never had set days off. It was always based off of, okay, well, does this shift roll into the next day, so on and so forth. And that was pretty much it. And so obviously that put a lot of strain on as far as like being a co-parent and trying to find balance. So it was rough. On top of that, like my body was getting accustomed to working there, which means, as some of y'all saw, like I was really bulky. I was eating unhealthy, couldn't go to the gym on a regular basis. Like it was bad. Like everything about that was really bad. And so like I just wanted a complete change. And ultimately, shouts out to Jada, because she was one of the big advocates for me to get away from McLean because it was killing me. And obviously I had no time to dance or really kind of prioritize any type of growth or development or positivity or anything in my life. That job is, you do that all day, every day. Those are for the people, which I say with respect and love. If you ain't got nothing going for you and your sole responsibility or your sole thing is just to get money, go for it. But that wasn't the type of life I wanted to live. And I couldn't even really be in my child's life, which was even more heartbreaking. And then on a year after that, after moved into my own place, decided to transition and go to another job. Well, unfortunately, the job that I was at flat out just lied to me. They were not transparent about the pay. And so just to kind of give you all a scope, I went from salary, just salary alone, working for McLean. I went from making $2,700 to $500 a week. The recruiters just flat out lied about as far as like with the pay. There was a bunch of ins and outs and a bunch of details that they don't communicate. It wasn't, I was told this is what I was going to be making, but then when I got there, it was something entirely different. So ultimately I ended up losing my house and having to move in with a friend. And it was just bad. It was just really bad. Like that was just a downtrodden. And I ended up having to quit that second job after I left McLean to go to another a yard company where I was pretty much just moving trucks up on the yard or whatever the case may be. And I think this time, if y'all remember last year when it snowed, unfortunately that particular location had too many accidents. And unfortunately I had bent a leg on one of the trailers and stuff like that. And so for political reasons, they had to let me go because, like I said, prior to me being there, they had way too many people. So I just literally just caught the short end of the stick and just got screwed over and almost bit the bullet again because I was about to move into an apartment that was relatively close to that job. And luckily the application didn't go through. My deposit was returned, but for some technical issues, I didn't end up moving there. So I was grateful. But, and then on the immediately after that, disco passed. So as you guys can kind of see, like, it's just a constant, like, downtrodden, for lack of better words, as far as what was going on. And most people don't really understand the gravity of as far as in terms of who disco was for me. I'd been in the freestyle movement 4 or 5 years before I met him, but as far as he was my introduction into Crump, he was my first big homie. Freedom and Illa Red had given me like some small introductions and stuff like that. I knew what it was, but as far as like really having a broad scope or really diving in, immersing myself into Crump, it was disco. And as they say, you always stick with the people that you come in the door with. And so obviously disco's passing and me knowing him for the better half of like over, literally I'm at 18 years now, was just like mind blowing. So it was tough, really, 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 really tough to see him pass so abruptly. It was just out of nowhere. And obviously it caught the entire community off guard. But again, that's somebody that like I knew since I was like 18. I'm 37 now. Well, excuse me, take that back. I knew him since I was 16. So it was a tough one, like real tough one. And yeah, so your boy was kind of in an emotional wreck. But luckily, things did kind of start to get better. I was able to transition to working at Home Depot as a CDL driver, much more consistent schedule, working nights now, but it's not food delivery services. They don't make you work in these crazy weather conditions like McLean, because McLean, if the city didn't shut down, if freeways weren't shut down, they didn't shut down. There was no, oh, the weather's kind of bad, rain, sleet, snow, heat. We did it all. So, and for those that remember, like that was a very trying time for me, but now I'm in a much better place. Got myself a new apartment, got a room for my daughter, and she's much happier. But the one point I remember was a breaking point for me was when I was driving before I got my Chevy Tahoe. I was driving during the summer in the Ford 500. My AC sucked, old school vehicle, not old school, but it was like a 2005. But I vividly remember that it just being really hot. And I remember turning around because I heard Trinity kind of like sobbing a little bit. And I turned around and I was just like, hey, what's wrong, baby? And she was just like, I'm hot. Now, I know that may not seem like a lot to people, but to a parent, there's nothing more heartbreaking than watching your child suffer through a circumstance that you can't immediately change. She's hungry, I can go get her food. Tired, okay, we can get somewhere you can go to sleep. But as far as in terms of having an old vehicle with leather seats, no real tint on the windows, because again, it's a 2005. That wasn't something that they implemented into like 2012. Just stock as far as in tint and stuff like that. But just watching my daughter cry in the backseat of a car was heartbreaking. Really heartbreaking. Like it literally broke something in me. And I had no idea what to do in that regard, but to make a change. And I think for sure, like that was the breaking point for me, to where it was just like, I have to change like my outlook on life. And that obviously goes into another aspect of as far as in terms of my mentality that I have right now. So yeah, bear with the whole part 2 aspect. Again, it's been a minute since I've done this, and my camera has a limited amount of recording time, but we got a new camera, so much longer recording time. As long as the memory cards are empty, we'll be good. But continue what I was saying. Yeah, it was just heartbreaking to see that. Like, you never want that. And I remember from that moment that I made a conscious decision to start prioritizing myself and the wellness of the immediate people around me. And that's not just simply like friends and stuff like that, because that was also a hurdle that I had to accept. I want people to understand is that when you go through a particular hardship, or you go through struggles or trials or tribulations, whatever the case may be, I would say the second thing maybe the third thing people do is, first, obviously you get pissed off. Secondly, maybe you make bad decisions to just simply try and adjust your circumstance that are not long lasting. But third, you start recapping or reviewing or kind of recollecting all like maybe bad memories or bad experiences and stuff like that. And that was one of the things that I definitely did is I started just going back and looking at like how my life was being lived. And I had to ask myself, okay, is this really how you want to be living your life? And to put a microscope on that, it was, okay, are you prioritizing your health mentally and physically and emotionally? Because obviously you were kind of a wreck at this time with everything that transpired. Mentally, were you prepared to make changes that you needed to make yourself better or to improve your circumstance? Yes, I was. Physically, were you in the best shape? Were you conditioned and have you developed good habits? No, because my body didn't reflect it. Hence why September of last year, when I really kind of like started turning up as far as going to the gym, and my father has a saying, train the mind and the body will follow. And obviously we know it takes 30 days to develop a habit. If you can do that consistently, then by that time, you'll just simply condition your body to doing it. And when you don't, your body will respond to you breaking that habit, whether that be going to the gym every single day and then you skip like 2 days, you feel that immediately. Your body kind of starts doing different things. So I had to definitely prioritize myself above else. And there was even a small period to where I had to like put myself above everything else. And I know it's crazy to say because I had told someone that, hey, I have to prioritize myself before I can do that for anybody else, even my daughter, because you can't help anybody if you can't help yourself first. That's just the reality of the situation. Emotionally, mentally, and physically, if I'm not there for myself, I can't even help my daughter. I can't. That was a hard pill to swallow. Like I really had to understand the depths of that, meaning that I needed to be quick and agile and able to adjust at the drop of a dime. But I think somewhere along the line, I'd become much more self-reliant upon people that I shouldn't have, whether that be leaving myself and being much more open and available for people who didn't reciprocate that from me. Whether that be just meeting up and chatting, whether that be answering phone calls or, giving people money, teaching for free, all that type of stuff, all those things that I've since changed and stuff like that, because I had to learn that, hey, a lot of these people are not doing it because they're being malicious. It's just human nature. We all have busy schedules. We all have priorities. We all have things that, take precedence in our life, or they're much more important than other things. And sometimes I was the person that people would reach out to whenever it was convenient for them, never when they wanted to actually check on me. It was always like, hey, I'm calling you to ask how you're doing so I can talk about my problems. It was a lot of that across the board. So I found myself in a position to where I was making a choice to like say, okay, hey, I'm going to stop expending any excess energy towards anything that doesn't ultimately benefit me. I know me at the end of the day. I love my friends and I love my family. But there was a lot of stuff that I had to go back and I looked at and I had a very resentful response to. And when I just thought about it, it put me in a bad space. But I quickly moved from that and just said, okay, well, I don't want to be angry, or I don't want to be upset. So I'm just going to improve on where I am now. And that's ultimately what I did. And I hate the term gaslighting more than anything else because I feel like it's used and weaponized a lot in this day and age. But there's nothing worse than, even when the separation from my partner, there's nothing worse than the only thing worse than people saying they don't believe you is that when the truth comes out, they make it seem like either you were the problem despite the evidence, or they trying to minimize it and make it seem like it wasn't that big of a deal. And that was the part that was just like, obviously, it's just like it is in the movies and TV shows. When you and your partner separate, people pick sides. That's all there is to it. And I watched a lot of people that I was surprised by, pick sides, whether that be through side conversations, whether that be through firsthand experiences. It was just a lot of mess that I I refused to accept. And ultimately it was like, okay, well, we're going to draw a line in the sand, and I need to put myself at a healthy distance from everybody. And I do mean like I separated myself from everybody. Self-imposed isolation, mentally and emotionally, because it was important for me to do that, to re-examine where I was at, what I was doing before, and where I needed to be. And to do that, I need to emotionally sever my emotional weight from people's lives. Not to say that I can't care, I can't be there for them, but that whole mentality of like, oh, your success is my success. No, no, it's not. Because the moment that it becomes a situation of your life or my life, humans are always going to choose their own personal success, their own lives above another person's. Just human nature. We're selfish, and that's okay. You know, we can still be good friends and be honest about it, but it's important for people to be mindful of those things. So all in all, like I said, and that was pretty much like the 2 years for me up until this point now, but clearly in a much better place. I'm happy. I'm working out in a much better, everything is significantly better. And it's crazy to kind of look back on like the last 10 years and just realize that like I wasn't supposed to be there. Just wasn't. And that's okay. You know, things come and go. We should never turn seasonal lessons into lifetime expectations. And that's what we got to remember. So, but not to end it on like a negative note. But yeah, that's just a story in itself. Ultimately, I just simply learned to love me, find balance, and don't compromise on your integrity. You can love everybody as close as you want to, but at the end of the day, they are going to choose their lives over you. And again, and I don't say that as a bad thing. But if two people, if you're drowning and I'm drowning, you first got to save yourself if you expect to help me. You cannot help me if you yourself are drowning. It just is what it is. And that's self-taught. You know, humans are going to, hey, am I going to give this person like my last dollar, or do I need my last dollar because I need it? Well, I'm going to use it because I need it. So yeah. But we're back in a good place, back dancing again, back making content. And I definitely hope to continue forward without any more breaks, because I know definitely people were getting on me about that. I feel bad, but I needed that, because for the longest time, there were certain people, small people, that didn't have as much emotional or physical weight in my life, but they told me that I needed to stop running myself thin, and I didn't listen. But then the moment I got to a point where, for lack of better words, I needed people, they were not there for me the way that I needed them to be. And only a few people were. So I'm forever grateful for those people. So that's about it, y'all. So hope you enjoyed this recap and where I'm at now. Your boy is much skinnier now, back in the gym, labbing again, and ready to continue my journey. Big shouts out to the homie Jacob for creating the intro to the channel. And this is going to be the new season. But yeah, we're going to do a lot here. I don't plan on stopping anytime soon because, again, I love this shit. Truly. I love creating content. I was told by this content creator, Brittany Nozuki. She used to be in the Crump community. She told me a long time ago when I was prime in the peak of McLean, she's like, you can't do that and do this at the same time. You're going to have to choose. And she was absolutely right. So here we are. So there's my story. Appreciate y'all rocking with me. Peace, love, and happiness. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Holla.